Hey, what is up everyone, Nick here with my review for Arrow Season 5, Episode 8, Invasion. Now, while being Part 3 of the 4-night crossover DC event, this is also Arrow's 100th episode, and I think that also came up with some problems within this episode, but I'll get into that in a bit. So, the story basically here is that Oliver and the rest of Team Arrow was captured last episode on The Flash by the Dominator ship, and they were beamed up into the mothership where they kind of lived out this fantasy life. Oliver never got into the Queen's Gambit, so he stayed back. He's getting married to Laurel. Felicity got with Ray Palmer. Diggle is the Green Arrow, and so on. There's a lot of differences in that new sort of timeline or dream life, whatever you want to call it. It almost felt like For the Man Who Has Everything, in a way. It was sort of like that, but for Oliver Queen. Now, the interesting thing, though, about this is why I had issues with how they handled it is because they were trying to do two things in my mind. They were trying to have this quintessential episode for Arrow and saying, hey, like, we made it to 100 episodes, let's pay homage to the entire series. But at the same time, they kind of had to shoehorn in the whole, like, crossover stuff with the Dominators, and while it did mostly work for me, I felt like this should have been a separate episode. The whole Arrow 100 episode, like, the event thing for that should have been an entirely different episode. That way, this one could have been actually, dealing with the Dominator stuff and part of the actual crossover, because it felt, like I said, trying to be two different things, and it didn't really do either of them justice in my opinion, because the whole Dominator stuff only takes up the last 5 minutes or so when they escape the ship and they're like, well, now we finally figured out how to beat them, and then it seems like everything is going to go down tomorrow night on Legends of Tomorrow, where we're actually going to get the fight that we finally have been waiting for like 3 episodes to see, the Heroes versus Aliens stuff. So it's kind of shocking that Legends of Tomorrow is going to be the actual crossover that we were promised, with all the heroes coming together and fighting off this alien invasion. But as for this episode, if I just wanted to judge it on its own, I think that it did a lot of things right, but I was not really impressed by how they gave closure to Oliver, because Stephen Amell and the producers and everyone kept saying and coming out about talking about this episode, saying, yes, it's going to be like this great like send-off to this whole era of Arrow, we're doing this giant like thing, and we're bringing all these guest stars back, and like Deathstroke is going to be in there, but he's like some weird dream sequence. But I mean, Deathstroke, hey. And then they do this whole thing where it's like he says goodbye to Laurel and everything, but it just doesn't feel genuine to me. Like, it just they didn't really spend enough time, I think, with these characters and saying goodbye to them, because I really expected this episode to give 100% closure to Oliver and have him finally accept the things that had happened in his life and accept the ones that he lost, the people that he loved that he lost, because he didn't really even felt like he got to say goodbye to his parents or anything. Because when you actually watch Flashpoint, like, yes, the episode wasn't handled perfectly, but at least Barry had some sort of closure with his parents and said goodbye to them and everything. This, it just felt like, well, none of you are real, I gotta go. And that kind of upset me a little bit as a person who's been watching Arrow since day one. It was like they kind of built up to this crossover thing, and then they're like, oh, but we're also gonna do the 100th episode special here. And like I said, just ultimately didn't really pan out the way I was hoping it would, because I really felt like Laurel and Oliver should have had a better definite conclusion to their relationship, rather than just like, I love you, and then goodbye, like, I'm leaving. It's like, it just felt weird, like really rushed. But I don't know, all in all, I think the episode is about like an 8 out of 10. It wasn't amazing, it wasn't what I was hoping it would be, and it wasn't necessarily this crossover event with the alien stuff. It just was like this episode that was like a weird amalgam and mishmashing of things. But let me know what you guys thought of the episode down in the comment section below, and what are your thoughts on how they handled the whole Arrow 100 part of it, sending goodbye to all these different characters that have been on the show. Also, if you guys are new to the channel and you like this review, subscribe for more content like this. My name is Nick, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow night for the conclusion to the 4-night crossover event on Legends of Tomorrow.